Hey everybody, Sean here, and welcome to Revealing Truth. In the Greek, apostles simply means a messenger or one sent on a mission, someone that represents Jesus by preaching the gospel. Are there apostles today? Well, I believe yes, but, and there's a big but. Yes, there are apostles today in the sense of people being called by God as missionaries, sent ones. This is a calling not everyone has. And I'm going to give an example in a moment. So what's the difference between the apostles in the Bible versus apostles today? The apostles in the Bible were sent to preach the gospel. Some to the Gentiles and some preached to the Jews. But, and this is the big but, they were also personally chosen and given authority to operate in what appeared to be all of the spiritual gifts of God. They spoke with authority. They healed the sick. They prophesied. They did miracles. They spoke in tongues, and they cast out demons and raised the dead. Not that the last two are listed as gifts, though. But apostles today haven't been personally given the authority to operate in those gifts from God. At least none that I've seen calling themselves apostles today. No, apostles today have simply been given a calling to do what most aren't called to do. And that's to risk their lives for the sake of preaching the gospel. Meet Jim and Elizabeth Elliot, Missionaries in 1956. You may have even read the book written by Elizabeth called Through Gates of Splendor. And this tells the story of how 5 American missionaries preached the gospel to the Huanorani tribe in Ecuador. Unfortunately, the tribe killed all the men, but Elizabeth's life was spared. And despite this terrible event, Elizabeth went back and lived with the tribe of her husband's killers and continued to preach the gospel to them. Now, we can agree to disagree on this point, but as far as my understanding goes, this was a group of people that could be called apostles today. They didn't operate in the gifts like the apostles in the Bible did, but they definitely had a God-given calling and passion to go into remote and dangerous places in the world and preach the good news. And even after they killed her husband, she was able to forgive them, go back, and continue preaching the truth of Jesus Christ. This isn't something the majority of Christians would or could do. I believe this is a modern-day example of what an apostle is. And due to what most of us think of when we hear the word apostle, these people would simply call themselves missionaries. But this is how I understand apostles today. People with a God-given calling that are sent to remote places in the world to preach the good news. Unfortunately, people that call themselves apostles today are either self-appointed or appointed by other false prophets and apostles. They aren't sent anywhere. They just draw attention to themselves and accept borderline worship from their followers. They don't risk their lives to preach the gospel at all. And they don't walk in the signs of the apostles in the Bible. So they're not apostles in any way. They're the false apostles we're warned of in 2 Corinthians 11. These people are masquerading or pretending to be apostles of Christ. They're described as deceitful workers and are compared to servants of Satan. So, do I personally believe there's apostles today? Yes, but only in the sense of being a person sent by God to preach the gospel in other places. Missionaries. And that's what they'd call themselves as well. But all the so-called apostles in the NAR movement that I know of are not missionaries and constantly preach on the gifts of God and misteach on the gifts of God. Yet none of them operate in any of these gifts. And that should be enough to show you that they're simply arrogant, self-deceived deceivers, just like we're warned of in 2 Timothy 3:13. These are evil imposters that are deceived and deceiving others, and need to be avoided at all costs. Anyhow, I hope this video has been helpful, and whether you agree with my understanding or not, please leave your comments below, and until next time, take care, and God bless.